Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into a pretty critical moment from April 2024, a time that pushed the Middle East, well, right to the edge, and fundamentally changed things between Iran and Israel. This wasn't just another headline. It felt like a real game changer. We've looked at the sources to, give you the clearest view.
Exactly. And I think what's really crucial to grasp is that while we haven't seen, thankfully, a full-scale regional war as of now, mid-2025,
Yeah.
these clashes in April 24 were probably the most direct, the most serious exchanges we've seen in decades. They sort of rewrote the playbook.
Okay, so let's start with the spark. April 1st, 2024. Israel strikes the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria. And this wasn't just any building, right? It killed 7 senior IRGC commanders. That's Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, including a top general, Mohammad Reza Salhedi. So Iran saw this, understandably, as a direct hit on its own sovereignty, a major line crossed.
Absolutely, a huge provocation in their eyes. And crossing that line, well, it led to something pretty unprecedented. On April 13th, going into the 14th, Iran launched, get this, over 300 missiles and drones directly at Israel from Iranian soil. Now, a lot of these, actually most, were shot down by Israel's Iron Dome system, which is, incredibly effective. And they had significant help, real-time help, from the U.S., the U.K., even Jordan. So the actual damage in Israel was minimal.
Right, minimal physical damage. That's interesting in itself, isn't it? Given the sheer scale of the attack, does that suggest maybe Iran was trying to send a powerful signal rather than inflict mass casualties, or just how good that defense shield is?
It's likely a bit of both. The defensive capabilities were clearly very strong, but the symbolism, I mean, that was immense. This was the first time Iran had ever launched a direct military attack on Israeli territory from its own ground. A new threshold crossed.
A completely new chapter, as you say. So Israel, well, they weren't going to just let that slide, presumably. They hit back, but in a more limited way. April 19th, airstrikes targeting, report said, air defenses near Isfahan in Iran. What was the thinking there? It seems quite restrained compared to what could have happened.
Well, yes, it seemed very carefully calibrated. The assessment is it was likely meant to send a clear message back to Iran, we can reach you, but crucially, without triggering that all-out regional war everyone feared. It was about restoring deterrence, perhaps? And Iran, interestingly, sort of downplayed the damage publicly, which was read as a signal they weren't looking to escalate things further right then. It was a really tense period, watching both sides calculate their next move, very much on a knife edge.
Okay, so we have the timeline.
Yeah.
The consulate strike, Iran's massive direct response, Israel's limited counter. What's the really big takeaway here? What makes April 2024 stand out so much from, previous flare-ups? Why should you, listening, really pay attention to this moment?
I think the key thing is this marked a fundamental shift, a really profound one. For years, decades even, this conflict was mostly fought indirectly, through proxies, right? Groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon or Hamas in Gaza. It allowed both sides a level of deniability, kept things sort of contained.
Right, it was fighting at arm's length, in a way.
Exactly. April 2024 just ripped that veil away. It moved squarely into direct state-on-state confrontation. Openly. That erodes decades of, let's call them, unspoken rules or understandings. The fear of a wider war was incredibly intense, and sources suggest diplomatic pressure, especially from the U.S. and Europe, was absolutely vital in pulling things back from the brink at that moment.
So it's not just about bigger weapons, it's the nature of the fight itself that changed. The gloves kind of came off. That seems huge, because now both sides have shown they're willing to engage directly. It feels like a much more dangerous phase for the whole region.
It certainly raises important questions about what comes next. What's the fallout from this new dynamic? Looking at where we are now, mid-2025, tensions are still, extremely high, no doubt about it. We aren't seeing open, continuous warfare, but both Iran and Israel are heavily engaged in other ways, cyber attacks, intelligence ops, and those proxy conflicts are still simmering away in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, plus both sides have visibly ramped up their military readiness and shored up alliances. They're preparing for this new reality.
Okay, so for you, trying to make sense of all this, the key thing to remember is that the dynamic between Iran and Israel really did shift in April 2024. It's moved to direct engagement. Many of the old assumptions, well, they might not apply anymore. So the question becomes, what does this mean for stability in the Middle East going forward? How will this new era of direct confrontation play out? It's definitely a situation that needs ongoing attention and some critical thinking from all of us.